I know it sounds like a bit of a get out, but it's probably both at the moment. I think people are unsure about what it is, and 4 or 5 years ago when the internet first burst onto the scene, it was probably seen as a massive opportunity, and everybody put everything onto the internet, put all the stories on, and it's probably not worked out commercially as they thought it would. But people are being a bit more savvy now and coming up with different ways of presenting things and using their websites. They're not just putting the whole story onto the web like they would have done 4 or 5 years ago. Now they've realised that there's probably a space for the newspaper and the website. So in the newspaper, if we look at a football point of view, say Blackpool in the Premier League, you'll have your full match report, your in-depth, your marks out of 10 and all that in the paper. And on the web you might have a video interview, or you'll have some sort of blog, or you'll have something a bit more different to give people reasons to click on both. And once you've got people clicking on both mediums, that's when you can make money, and you're not just replacing one medium with another like they probably were when they first started using it. At the moment there's more money in newspapers, but the good example at the moment is the Financial Times. The Financial Times, obviously a big national newspaper, and they actually make more money online now than they do with the print product. Now they have a bit of a strange example because they have a lot of business people who just put it, at the moment they use what's called a paywall, so you can't actually read content without paying. But that necessarily, I don't think that'll work in a local level, because it's different with the Financial Times. They've got people clicking on that who need it for their work, so they put it on their work expenses accounts and things like that, so they get people through work doing it. I don't think people will ever buy your local newspaper online in full, just because the stuff's available so many other places. If you type in, if there's been a big incident in Blackpool and you type it into Google, it might be on 100 different websites, so people aren't necessarily going to pay for it. I think everybody thought that the web was going to come and just blast all this commercially and make millions out of it, but it's just not, sadly. But it can do in the future, and it probably will in the long run. I know that the Sun and Rupert Murdoch's companies are now considering paywalls again. But again, the Sun are in a very strong position because they've got such exclusive content, and content that probably, I mean, if you wanted to pay, if there was another Wayne Rooney scandal, you'd probably pay 50p to read it, wouldn't you? Just because it's so explosive and interesting. Whether people would pay 50p to read a council story or a planning permission story, I don't know.
So making money online is more to do with the paywall rather than the actual advertisers themselves?
It depends. It's difficult. Local newspapers have to go. I think personally, I think local newspapers have to look away from the paywall. But I think the paywall is certainly something that nationally probably will come in and will make money, because I think people were willing to pay 40p for the Sun in the paper shop. So why wouldn't they on the internet? I think like I said, locally it's probably a little bit different.